Okay, this is WNDC. Excuse me. WNDC stands for We in the Crib, and you ain't in DC, and that's what all of this is right about now. About sitting here chilling, taking one to the head. And I got a lot of things on my mind. I'm trying to get them off my mind, and maybe some of this that you might be experiencing in this post or any of the others might entertain or enlighten you. And for that reason, if so, in these times of need, it sure be nice if you can find a charitable moment to donate to my Cash App. Yeah, the struggle's real. As you can see from the title, there's a lot of things going on in my head right now about the loss of another close friend, very local, and I've been heavy on my mind, and and it's not just him; it's a whole lot of other things too. But that one stood out because, well, let me get into that in a minute. Yeah. Now, I'm not sure if all of my technology is working right, and I hope it is because, well, if it ain't, at least I know that you're getting my voice, I believe. And so, with that being said, I'm going to try to get this off my head because it's really been heavy on it in the past days because it's been less than 32 hours now, and I've lost a lot of personal close friends and family to this whole COVID thing. And the thought of the loss, reminds me of so many other things, but it's gotten to such a degree that many of us have gotten used to, oh man, we just lost another icon. Oh man, we just lost another friend. Oh man, we gotta, to a point where we got this like numbness to it. And yet, sometimes things happen that are close enough that sense of empathy really sits on your mind because of the way it happened, the way you lost a good friend of yours. And in this case, I had been trying to get a hold of him in the whole nine, and another friend of mine who was a friend of a friend of mine, happened to tell me out of the blue last night that my man Craig Talley, we call him T-Bone, or DC, had passed in a fire in his home that he had moved back and bought here in DC alone, and they found him after the fire. And I've been in his house enough to know the setup and the whole nine. So, the news in itself was a shock, but what even got me even more deeper is the mere fact that I look back, because I'm savant like that, I look back in the reports to see as much information on that incident as I could, and I caught the fire department's recording of them fighting this fire, and they were behind the house, right where his room and the kitchen and the stairs that go down to the basement and the bathroom area was in the back of the house. And that's where I watched for 1:08. Them trying to concentrate on this fire close to the kitchen, but at this point engulf the whole rear of the house and probably at the front. I never saw the damage in the front, but I know that there was more of a chance that he was right there where they were also fighting. And, and in a sick kind of way, I actually turned up the sound, hoping that I could maybe hear a possibility that they could have been able to understand that there was somebody in there or anything of that nature. And think about, how important it is if you got burglar bars to have some that, open up so you can get out, and not the ones that were in his apartment. Especially being that, that's where he had his most valuable stuff. And, living up in there, man, I just, when sometimes we have friends and we look at them and they look at us, and we cherish them for a lot of things, even if we can't stand half of that. But, we adopt a certain embracement of this image and whatnot that, some would call it love, but it's deeper than that. And so when I'm sitting here and I can't get out of my head how this friend of mine, this friend of ours, perished. And what did it for me even more so is because I was just in a kind of circumstance like that a while back, a few years back, that I'm just still trying to recover from now, where our building caught on fire, and my apartment in the basement was where, is where it kind of generated. And had it not been for another friend of mine over at that time, I would have found myself in the same conditions that my man must have had to deal with too. But there's a lot going on. There's these retrogrades, there's this age of Aquarius, there's this new politics, there's this coronavirus, there's this race thing and all this other stuff going on. And yet it's caused a lot of us to lose the ability to be able to absorb in the empathy, not just, oh, I feel your pain, but to, have the discomfort of, when people say, I hope he died a peaceful death. I can't imagine that other than, them dying from smoke inhalation. And he was a pothead, so smoke inhalation, I'm missing this cat even more so, and I'm kind of salty with him because, he, like a whole lot of the other friends that I befriended when we were in Atlanta doing our things, and we were on equal mental territory, and then they move back up here, and all of a sudden they get back into that DMV strange thing where I'm at worst, a Bama from Atlanta, and unless I'm coming in flashing and attracting a whole lot of paparazzi or something like that, they're on to the next thing, kind of like a backwards Atlanta. And so I recall how, I had an awkward experience that really brought back to me and my understanding of black and blackness, and and how people of color have a certain cultural kind of instinct of how they identify or respect or even allow other people of color the audacity of being considered at a level of royalty that at least would match theirs, if not above. And I know I got a little deep on that, but you needed to be there because this incident happened when I moved up here and I was working the Black Caucus. They were having this ballroom event at this hotel. And I walked in to go to work to this thing. And for the first time, and at least the 20-something years of my professional life in this craft, I witnessed a whole entire room full of crew, production, staff, service, every last person in that room were people of color. So my first instinct is they're all black. Now, in the process of that, in the courses of that, a lot of them looked at me like, what is this dude freaking out about? And I'm trying to express to them how I'm having a coming to the promised land moment, being a child of the civil rights movement, and, a tech and a Marine, and, in the South, and, a lot of that. I found it kind of awkward because I was trying to assure them that I wasn't just, crazy, by just explaining to them how, all of my career, I've been like, 1.5 times around this planet working, and never have I been in a room completely where every dollar went into black pockets. And that's where this Black History moment also comes into all of this, because I think Craig would be proud of me for putting him in this, because so at that point in time, I realized that these people were more concerned about the mere fact that I was unidentifiable as to my pedigree of being in there, even though I was sent, with this historic resume that most people were just, what, that's another story. And so, I realized that I wasn't a part of any lodge, any order, any frat, any social group, any class status, any identifiable island or country or culture that's totally devoid of, the insignificant colonial slave blood that was set in our Constitution to consider us less than human. And so I don't digress, I progress. It's been challenging to be able to find a way of sending positive or progressive energy in these little posts without being assumed to just be some. But this is that moment in time where you always hope that people had a moment to understand where I'm going with this, because this is also Black History Month. And for a lot of our people of color and our people of non-color that are interested in people of color, and the other ones that really honestly haven't been wanting to deal with this black thing altogether, this is very important to you, because see, unlike all the other races and cultures that exist out there, it's been very difficult from the start of this whole race black white issue to explain to everyone how people of color are more diverse than white. You get to a certain level of white where they don't, no, I'm Jewish, no, I'm Croatian, no, I'm Armenian, I'm not white, but all of those things in the people of color standard are people of color, and therefore black. And therefore, it's not necessarily just a direct identification, and therefore I can understand why way back in the early 1900s, this country agreed to actually keep a certain focus on every year there being at least a legal reason to concentrate on the history of people of color, because there are people like you and people like me, and even some of the people who think they've got none of the blood that I've got in my skin. They all originate from there, where we came from too. So this is very important for Americans, because Americans have been spoiled. They've been allowed to live the past 100 and so yard years without thinking that that they have to respect each person as a citizen or whatnot, because, well, we're just getting to a point where all bets are off on all of this prestige that used to reign over us, this one percentile thing, the skull and crossbones, the Sarada, the high society people, the rich folks, the uppity folks, the boles, the this, that, and the other. All of those things are off now. And we are now sitting in a thing where while there are some cream of the crop still in the cream of the crop, there are these new mutated versions of brilliance that are becoming in people that have been long ago, identified as insignificant. And I think that's where a lot of these red hat, keep America great kind of people really have a big problem with this, because first off, they didn't open their mouth for the past 50, 60, 70 years. And only now is it starting to hit them in their pockets. And they're starting to realize that, some things you come out of your mouth or you try to do thinking that your God-given right can put you on a no-fly list, and you don't get a passport. Basically, you don't go to, you don't go to the next step. You go sit back in the woods and pray that your children can work their way out of your lineage, yet I got so much on my mind, because we got so much on our mind. We've got so many things on our plate that it's kind of like taking a poor person from the desert, starving Africa or somewhere like that, and taking them to a down-home southern buffet with all the fixings sitting out there, cafeterias or something with the long row of food, and just say, for you, and expect for him to go around and sample the food. No, he's going to run through this shit and live in this shit. You ain't ready for it, because that's kind of where we're at in our state of freedom, in our state of understanding, in our state of responsibility, in our state of being able to command a better control, a mastery over our spiritual gifts and talents that also exist. The same things that, we brag about how we came from the ancestors that were capable of praying up a storm or making something out of nothing. And yet we're not using those same talents because we're still stuck in this woe is me kind of thing that we do to ourselves. We allow ourselves to absorb so much of all of these things, and we feed off of that instinct because it's been useful in the past administrations when we needed for a lot of people who aren't going to be very focused in this thing to just go sit in the corner and play, and we'll do the project over here and we'll all get the credit for it, but you just stay over there, little Johnny or little Susie or this, that. Now, this is no more of that. We're all rather, because we still have to figure out what is going to take for us to not just be movers and earners, but providers, with a sense of pride that only this country was built on the intention of it being there, just due to the mere fact that every person who swears they have a right to be here came here for the sole purpose of being able to not do what we're doing to each other right now. And there is no more one race or the other doing this. They're mixing and they're mingling into this wonderful mutated version of some of the most unique millennials and to come that we'll ever know. We'll never know, where they may, if you're lucky, brag about how the blood that flows through their veins is what you're creating and flowing through yours by way of mustering as many of the other connections to the genetics that you have to believe exist in this mutated state. I might not be from royalty, but I came from a bunch of different parts of really cool people that even royalty admired. And a a lot of this is this post-traumatic slave syndrome concept that Dr. Joyce DeGruy came up with is now more of an Americanized issue. And the reason why we've talked a good game about what we need to do for everybody is because we've lost the ability to really feel. How's it going to feel when you take a baby's bottle out of his mouth? How's it going to feel when all children are not going to get the same privileges you want your children to have? And we need all of us in this country to make this country great again. And that we know occurred because everyone else in the world is still betting on us. And for that reason, you know, I sit back and I think about how this memory of the loss of my friend the past day and the instinct of empathy, not just, oh, I feel your pain, but to be very uncomfortable with the loss. When people say, oh, I hope he died in peace, but you know he didn't. And therefore, you're just a little bit uncomfortable with the spiritual aspects of, oh, come on, God, man, he was a cool dude. Did it have to? I've been in that situation and I was saved by that grace. And right now, I'm not like battling with my spirituality. I'm trying to express to you the natural instinct that we do from a spiritual standpoint when we sit here and we try to justify how we've gotten so far in so little time. In one generation from Jesus to 45, we've made it as humans. No longer just Negroid, Caucasoid, or the other one, you know, none of that other, no, you know, we're in this state now where we have the actual audacity to indulge and empathetically indulge into what makes each person valid as a human. So therefore, we are capable of leading, serving, following, submitting, and embracing, tolerating each other, because that's what we need to do. It's compliance. It's not, you know, taking away my God-given right. No, you get your God-given right. You just get the same right everybody else gets, and you just can't just make everybody else the anti-somebody and you the imperial something else when you ain't even got Trump money. But you got Trump mouth. And picture someone that you know that's been a really cool person to you all your life, and imagine how the same thing that just happened to a friend of mine could have happened to me. Almost happened to me. So I was there. I've been there. I understand it. I'm still living it right now, and trying to see, you know, the last minutes and moments of realizing that there's no out from the location of where he was at. And all the time that I was watching that 1 minute and 8 seconds of video of the firefighters fighting the fire in that position in the back of the house, it was right there. And that's where I had the last image of a good friend that I'll never be able to express how sympathetic, how, you know, you can't give condolences to something that, you know, it's not going to take away the pain of them, you know. Yeah, I feel your pain. No, you don't. You don't feel that kind of pain unless you feel the serenity to understand that these these tasks, these challenges that I'm bringing up, and these little bits and pieces of what I'm saying are little motivational little things that we have to now go back and adjust our own operating systems, because we're on spiritual new dirt. And the new year is almost up, and we got to go into this next little thing. And Black History Month is the last thing you get before that happens. And maybe, just maybe, some of us might be able to help us help each other. But I wish that I could have been more help to my friend. And I wish that I can express the way that I found myself getting the message in the whole nine, when, I had been incapable of winning his attentions on more of the daily basis that we grew to have with each other when he was on my dirt. And yet to find out that, other people had been in touch with them. I didn't get a call for the Super Bowl thingy and this, that, and the other. And I'm not salty about that. I'm kind of jealous. And it's okay to be a little jealous at someone who left you, and, left you in a way that, they'll never know how much it really just makes you uncomfortable with knowing that if you got a chance to tell them, they'd be like, come on, man. Man, come on, man. Man, y'all ain't gonna shed a tear for a motherfucker. Y'all ain't gonna this, that, and the other. And I'm going, man, I'm already past that one. And he's not the only person that I've now grown to realize. I've been doing that too. But do that to every report of every crime, every report of every ache, every prayer, everything, and listening to the left and right side and everybody else, and seeing them in the same sight as someone that I would value as a friend, because we helped each other positively grow to where we are, even if it was just that reason, season, lifetime kind of thing. And yet here we are, just looking for a reason to look for more, to get up and do more. And it's kind of difficult because we're still stuck in this cultural kind of structure that doesn't exist for any other race but people of color. They are the most, they would say they're the most conservative by culture or whatnot. I mean, we're still some of the last people to be able to let go of that LBGT thing, when we already got more bright LBGT things that are, making them valid from afar, knowing that they can't step on that ground, because it's still illegal on their home dirt. But now we're sitting here and we're struggling with this whole miseducated kind of structure that we believe we need to run back and get this King James version of something that the Pilgrims brought over, because the Queen and the Pope and all of them wouldn't let them keep that over in the old country. And yet we can't get rid of the mere fact that we possess all of that. And even Jesus has said, it's in you and you too can do it. And we're now back in Jesus' time, when Jesus was great. We've got maybe 30 more years to actually be able to make something worth knowing that for the next 26,000 years, they're going to remember you. And in some ways, even when you imagine now you have the challenge of trying to get on the better end of, now, where do you want to be? Do you want to be in Dusseldorf or Slytherin or this, that, and the other? You want people to, hate you, you're the reason why, or love you, you're the reason why, or respect you because you were more than just somebody sitting around, talking about how, what's the reason? Man, if you knew what I'm feeling right now, you would know how, this would cause one of those feelings for you to go back into your phone log or your old phone books and reach out to some of the most unique people that you recall growing up with and realize, well, you're probably the last person they're probably would probably be thinking about them once they find out, well, they died just yesterday. Wow. Y'all be good to each other. This is WNDC. We in the crib, NDC, and you ain't. You good?